You're very welcome to the Woman to Woman Show here on Confident Women Ireland's YouTube channel with me, Roisin the Cleric. I'm back again with one of our favourite women in Ireland, and that is Mary Curran. Mary Curran is Ireland's leading and most experienced life coach, and Mary was one of a group of coaches that brought coaching to Ireland. Mary, you're very welcome back.
Thank you, Roisin. Lovely to be here again.
Again, we must plug the book. Life begins when you're ready to listen with Mary Curran. And it's something that, it's every week we say it is really important to the topic of our conversation. And our topic this week is personal growth and relationships.
Yes. Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about it. Yeah.
And Mary, personal growth, everyone's talking about, personal empowerment, personal this and personal that, but very few people really touch on personal growth,
Mhm.
because that personal growth, we talk about relationships, is it the first relationship we have begins with ourselves.
Yes. Totally agree with you. Yeah. Yeah. Is knowing thyself, self-awareness. You see, personal growth is very linked into emotional intelligence as well, because the cornerstone of emotional intelligence is self-awareness, personal self-awareness. And everything, the book, I'm sure you've heard the expression, the book starts with me. If I love myself, I can give love to others. If I respect myself, I can respect others. How can you do this if you don't have it yourself? So knowing yourself, knowing how, what type of person you are. And I do quote Anthony Robbins when he says the fastest route to knowing yourself is through your value system.
Yes.
So knowing your core values, knowing your personal values are vital in your own self-awareness. Because one of the affirmations I say this, that's all of my life is I only make decisions while staying true to my value system. So I always do an internal check with myself if I'm saying yes to something or I'm saying no. If I'm saying yes, what's this mean? If I'm saying no, what's that mean? Because otherwise we don't know ourselves. And when we don't stay true to our values, we're letting ourselves down. We're settling for less than. So in the world of personal growth, there's so much, Roisin. I mean, let's face it. I mean, we're learning from the day we land here to the day we die. I always say we're an open book and we keep learning through life once we're open to it. Like some people aren't open to learning. Some people can't deal with failure. Failure is our teaching masters. I
Yes.
mean, we learn what happened and what we could have done better and how to move on with the message as a positive. But that's also our open-minded. But there are a lot of people that are very hard on themselves, their
Yeah.
own worst critic, and they give out to themselves and they stay stuck in life and they stay stuck in relationships or they stay stuck just in their own life as well.
And you talked about failure. And I can't remember, you might remind me who said it. Failure isn't failure, it's just showing you you're down the wrong path or you're doing something that go back and tweak it. Go back. There's
Yeah.
something that you've missed. And if you make a failure in a relationship or a career job or doing something, you're just on the wrong path. But sure, so Edison and Tesla, I'm sure they made lots of mistakes before they achieved what they did achieve.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, it's to be able to, as I always say, evaluate, reflect, and then move on with that's my own saying, but is
Say that
evaluate
again.
evaluate what you went out to do, evaluate what you set out to do, then take a pause and reflect on what you did and say
Right.
what went well, what could have been done better, and then take the learning and move on. So I use again the traffic lights, the red, amber, and green. Evaluate is the red, amber is the pause and reflect. And then when you've learned your lesson, take it with you into the future as a positive and go green. Yeah.
And
So
I'm wearing green.
that's a lovely color of green, by the way. I was going to say that. Lovely. I love that pale. It's a gorgeous color for the summertime.
Yeah, I love green.
Yeah. So that's failure. But I mean, a lot of things happen to us in our life. And I know when we talk about personal development, there's a cornerstone around, as you would say, the self-concept, the self-esteem, the self confidence, and then the last one is self-worth. They are all different, Roisin, and I would coach people in each of those areas. It's not just one in each of them. Um, I was only coaching on Friday this fabulous woman that I worked with years ago on career, but she's with me for another reason now. And she actually, I actually heard myself saying to her, you're not emotionally open to meeting someone. So that's the reason when you meet somebody, they're already in a triangle relationship because you're not emotionally available to them. And then they are not emotionally available to you because you attract what you are yourself. And she just went, oh my heavens.
Wow.
Oh my heavens. I have a pattern of doing that, Mary. And I said, yes. So are you emotionally available? And when we broke down, as you know, and we dived down and we drilled down, she wasn't emotionally available herself. We attract what we are. We are like magnets. We attract what we are ourselves.
I
And
like that. I've never heard that before. Just say that once more about it being emotionally available.
oh, it's very true. Well, you see, I have done, Roshan, a lot of work in the area of relationships. Now, I did some on myself as well when I went for relationship coaching myself all the years ago. So it's not just me doing this or studying it myself. I've gone to work on it. And what I'm saying is that she wasn't through the power of coaching. It's all questions. I'm only asking her
Yeah.
questions. What happened was she realized that she wasn't emotional. She was giving me patterns of meeting people that were in a triangle. She was meeting them, going out with them, but they were also in a relationship with somebody else. I said, how come everybody I meet is in a triangle relationship? Like they have somebody else and they're not emotionally available to me. And I just asked her the question, and are you emotionally available to yourself? And
Really good.
she just went, no, I'm not.
It's
I
not
don't.
even just being emotionally available to someone else, but
Mm.
it's being emotionally available to yourself.
And she wasn't in any way at all.
Wow.
So needless to say, I'm working with her at the moment, but I'm just saying that in our personal area of development, we have the four areas. So self-concept is what we believe that other people see us as our self-concept of ourselves, a personal self-concept. Self-esteem, baby's born with 100%
Yeah.
self-esteem. It's the environment and as we call it, the primary impressions that change that little baby into maybe not having as high a self-esteem as they get
Yeah.
older. It's all the primary impressions, like from the time they're born. And then you have self-confidence, which is the doability, and you learn by practice and everything. And then self-worth is the one I have noticed with a lot of women, they lack high self-worth. Self-worth is the one that it acknowledges your contribution and what you're giving to the workplace. So I know some women have low self-worth, so they are afraid to ask for their rise. They're afraid to ask for the promotion. Whereas I'm not saying men are far better, but they don't have that same low esteem about my self-worth, and they will ask for a rise quicker than a woman will. So self-worth is the value you place on the contribution that you give, which is vital. It's really vital. So there are four areas just in our own part. And then you have, of course, the other one. I did it years ago in the book of psychology. What was it called? The fourfold theory of a personality. I know it's in the book as well.
I have it here. It's open part, hidden part,
Yeah.
blind part, and dark part.
Yeah. So I love giving this example because people don't, and it's been there for years and years, but it's just the open part of your personality is the part that everybody sees. Everybody sees. You're aware you're blonde, you're aware you're this, I'm aware of that. It's what we see in ourselves or what others see. So that's the open. The next one is, which was next to hidden? Is it the hidden?
The open part, the hidden part.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's two parts to the hidden part, and this is important as well. So okay, so let's say we're dating somebody for the first time. Well, or we're on the second or third date, whatever. Well, we might decide to hide the fact that we're a diabetic because we just want to be relaxed at the meal. We don't need to tell them. We don't know them that well. We don't need to tell them right now that we're a diabetic and that we have to watch what we eat, whatever. So that's a hidden part that's official hidden. It's okay. You might tell them later on as you get to know the person. But also inside of all of us, we have the unofficial hidden.
Yes.
And the unofficial hidden, I think to give that example of somebody in a big work environment, but when he goes home in the evening, goes up to the attic and plays at his train station. That's his little thing that he likes doing. And he might never tell the world that. It's unofficial, it's unofficial. He might never tell the world. But then I've read in papers and all where you hear somebody saying, I never knew my husband was gay until after the family grew up, and then I realized, so the unofficial, the man could be a murderer. The unofficial hidden part of a personality is something we could keep to our grave. We might not never tell somebody something, so that's the unofficial hidden part of our personality. So you have the open, then you have the hidden, and then you have the
The
third,
blind part.
the which
Blind part. Blind.
oh yeah, the blind part. Oh yeah. And this one I used to really laugh with the X Factor when people would go on, right, the same. And I'd be sitting there going, have they got no friends? Like, have they no friends to tell them, don't go up there, you can't think. So the blind part of personality is it'd be somebody like on holidays, which I saw on holidays. I remember one time I'd been in Portugal, and this man got up to saying, he was so bad, but he thought he was brilliant. Like this. And I'm going, oh my God. So it's the part of our personality that we don't see, that we are not aware of. And without self-reflection, we'll never find out. Now, I know there's loads of different psychomedics you can do in the workplace will show up your blind part. The 360 is brilliant for showing up your blind part of your personality. But a lot of us might think we are assertive when we're being aggressive. A lot of us might think we're being nice and calm and relaxed when we're being lazy. So that's the blind part. That's the blind part of our personality. We all have it. And that's the part that we really need in personal development to spend time on, which is reflection. Looking in the mirror, looking at how I come across, how do people see me? Looking at yourself, getting to know yourself, what you stand for, what you believe in, getting to know yourself so that you don't have that blind part there as much as it is. And then the last one, I don't know why to call it the dark side of your personality. I understand if the word dark, the way we talk about meaning of words. Well, the word dark doesn't mean anything positive to me. The word dark, I don't like the word dark, but it's known as a dark side of your personality, which means the light hasn't shone on your potential as yet. Yeah,
Aha.
so that's the dark side of your personality. Now, that's the piece where I sit all the time working with people in finding the career they love from within. I am the one that will go along and shine, shine the light on that part of your personality, because that's the work people have to do to find their passion sometimes when they don't know. They could be thrown into a career, they could be in it for years, or they might be in it for comfort or whatever. But that's the part that has not been developed yet. That's the dark side that needs somebody to shine a light. And a lot of the time it's coaches to shine the light on the hidden parts of people's gifts, so that's where coaching is brilliant for doing that. So that's the dark side of our personality.
Funny you talk about singing and the X Factor. I'll just put a bit of humor into this. My cat's meowing somewhere, and I don't know where he is. My son was only about 2 years of age, and we were going on a little picnic, a little adventure through the woods and playing Robin Hood and everything else. And I always remember he's wearing a little orange coat from Next. And he was sitting in the back seat, and I was singing Baa Baa Black Sheep, as you do to a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old. And he was sitting giggling. He was just sitting chuckling away. He had white blonde hair, big blue eyes. And he was sitting, he was a cheeky little chap. And I said, what are you laughing at? Mommy, you sing like a ba, ba, ba.
He said
So then for about, it was only about 2 or 3 years ago, from that moment on, I started miming, not singing.
oh,
So, well, then one day I was driving, I know exactly where I was driving, and I realized I was miming at the top of my voice.
right.
And I went, oh my God, I've been doing that since that day. And it used to be a joke between us.
Yeah.
But then I started just singing. I just used my voice.
Yeah.
And that's where I said, sometimes in that personal growth, we can lose our voice.
Yes. Oh, it's so much. Don't die. I think Wayne Dyer says, don't die with the music inside of you, or don't die without your voice being spoken. Oh my heavens, yeah. A lot of us we can lose our voice in relationships. We can lose our, as you said there, we can lose our voice in the home, like by somebody just telling us, not to be talking or whatever. I mean, or we could be hiding away from something and not voice what we really believe, or what you see. This comes again back to being true to yourself and having integrity and being able to say what you believe and what you think, being upfront and honest as well,
Mm.
you know, because
It
it
was
is
like,
true.
yeah.
Yeah, it is true. The voice, a lot of us don't have our voices heard.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm in a couple of WhatsApp groups, and it's like, don't say this or don't say that, and people are silencing you from your own opinion is.
Yeah,
And I remember going through my NLP, and I remember, and it's something that I really like you now through the coaching. If somebody it says, "Oh no, it sounds stupid," I won't say it. Well, if it's valid to you, then it's valid.
yes,
If
yes,
it brings value to you, what you think has value to you, then it's valid.
yeah, yeah,
And, I think an awful lot of people, and it's through the culture now, we have been silenced when everyone is because they don't want to be cancelled or ghosted. And even that in relationships,
yeah,
that people are silenced, even in personal relationships. Now, that thing with my son was a family joke, and we still laugh about it because
yeah.
I am a terrible singer. You don't want, I would, whoops, I would be a millionaire if I sang and people told me to stop singing and they paid me €1. I would be a millionaire. The opposite of X
Yeah.
factor. But it is that, especially with relationships, that personal growth is always, and people seem to forget that you go into relationships and then it's like that forming, norming, storming, and enjoying.
I,
But you go into relationships and you do things just for peace. Just, you do things for just for peace. You don't say things to keep the peace. And then there's always one person who's always doing things so there is everything gets done. And there's always one person within the relationship that keeps the relationship going.
now that's really interesting because the other part in relationships is the fact that no matter who we're with in our life, not one person is going to meet and fulfill all our needs. That's
Yeah.
reality. It just doesn't happen. Now, if you are fulfilling, remember, needs aren't good or bad. It's how you get them fulfilled or meet them
Say
that
that
makes
again. That's
them.
really that's valuable. Needs.
Needs are not good or bad, but it's how you meet those needs that decide whether it fulfills you or drains you.
Wow, powerful.
And if you're in a relationship and you have a need to be listened to, or you have a need to be heard and it's not met, the question you have to ask is, how do I get the need to be listened to met? What do I do to get that need met in a way that fulfills me, not drains me? Like when you think about girl or man or whatever at work and he wants to be popular, so he's a need to be popular. He has two choices. He can go around, or she can go around and take all this work on. I'll do that for you. I'll do that just for to fulfill the need to be popular. But it's in a way that's draining the hell out of them and direct, tired, and overwhelmed. Whereas if you turn around to them and say, so how can you get the need to be popular? It fulfills you. They would have to look at a different way of, carrying out their behavior. So in relationships, yes, the person we're with in our life will meet some of our needs, but I'm very realistic in saying that not one person on this earth, neither me or anybody else, can meet everybody's needs in a relationship. And it's the same with friends. We have different friends to meet our different needs. And it's to value that and know which friends you value at certain times. And you might need the friends to go mad, or you might need the real serious friends or whatever, or the psychological friends or whatever at different times. So, and then in a relationship as well, remember, we have to be very careful that people aren't codependent in a relationship,
Mm.
that they're dependent on the other person. So we do talk about, you should only be in a relationship when it's the icing on the cake. Somebody shouldn't be in a relationship. And I often ask them when I'm coaching them on relationships, I say to them, so is there a significant other? And if they say there's nobody in their life, I say, and how do you feel about that? And they go, what do you mean? And I said, how do you feel about nobody in your life? And the positive people and let's say the people that are very self-aware will say, well, Mary, I'm enjoying life. I love my work. I'm going on holidays. And should I meet somebody who'll be the icing on the cake? Now, that's a very positive attitude. But if I have somebody, which I've had many times in the past, and they say to me, well, Mary, I feel I'm not a full person without a significant other in my life. I feel I'm not complete. I feel, I would that's the one thing I would like is to have somebody in my life. Well, then I might have to drill a little bit deeper with the person, work with them a bit longer on what is it that you're not happy with in your whole complete self that you need somebody else to fill that part, because really we never should be in a relationship unless we're in it by choice. We never should be in a relationship out of need. Never. And I remember one person saying to me, I need a man that will make me happy. And I remember saying, I just coached her and said, hold on. You know, we don't need anyone to make us happy. We should find that happiness firstly inside ourselves.
Because all happiness comes from within.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And your man Robert Holden, that's brilliant on happiness as a journey in all the books he's written. And he goes, stop chasing, stop chasing the end of the banana. He goes, stop chasing happiness. Kind of saying, I'll be happy when I get this house or get this car, or get this man. No, happiness is in the present moment,
Yeah.
Yeah, so personal growth and then moving into relationships, just so much. It's a big, big word, relationships. Huge word,
And I think in relationships, this is from my experience now being 57.
Yeah.
I think relationships, if you haven't got that relationship with yourself, it's very difficult to have that good balanced relationship with the other significant partner.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You have to be really, that's where that self-concept comes in. That's where that self-esteem comes in.
Yeah.
So, and that self-worth.
Yes.
Once you have all those aligned and that self-concept of knowing who you are, what you do, your why, who, what, where, how, and why you are who you are.
Well, it's a great exercise I give people sometimes is, why should somebody love me? And why do I love myself? And they kind of look at me and they go, you want me to answer that? And I go, I want you to go away. And when I meet you the next time, I want you to answer both of those questions.
Yeah.
First, why I love myself, and then why should somebody love me? Because I don't think sometimes we value ourselves enough, and we let ourselves down, and then we have the saboteur, the little voice, the gremlin giving out to ourselves all the time, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? But I think as well, I absolutely know when I'm in good form and I'm in good form myself, it's very easy to be in good form with the other person, significant other in your life.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of things depends on couples being together, staying together. I know there's a lot in the book, there's a lot of pages in the book about your temperament. I love this about when I did a workshop with Anthony Robbins on relationships, and I remember, I love this now. I can't now paraphrase exactly everything he said, but he said something like, okay.
Did you do an actual course with Anthony Robbins in person?
I did the weekend where I walked to fires, and then he was doing all these different workshops, and one of them was on relationships. And I have to say, I was a total sponge. I took in everything he said because I just loved it, So he said, two people come together, and I think this is really interesting. First, you have two people come together, and they have the same temperament, and they have the same values. And he goes, after he talks about 15 months of the in-love period, when that settles down and, you're mad about each other, and then it's kind of where to from here. What he says is that the people with the same temperament, in other words, as and I'm not assuming this, Roshi, but we see the world the same way through our internal representational system. So we are to say we're detailed. Let's say we're detailed. So we're detailed, we're steady, we're reliable, and that's what we are. And we see the world the same way. What he says is that couple can stay together once they have the same values. He always talks about values. However, he said they are the couples that you see out in a restaurant, and you're with whoever you're with, and they're not talking, and they're very relaxed. They're looking around, but they're not really talking. And he goes, that's because they see everything the same way. They're quite happy and stable in the relationship, but there's not a lot of excitement, but they're very happy. So you can't interfere with them. You just kind of go, right, okay, So that's the first lot. Then the next lot of couples would be a couple that have the opposite temperament. So you have the detailed person with the visual person. So they challenge each other, they're learning from each other. And that's brilliant as well. Only though, if they have the different values, when it comes down to sitting down about what do we value, what do we want to do with our lives, if they don't have the same values, it ends. It will end then. And then he said the ideal, sustainable, long-term relationship is where you have an opposite temperament with the same values. So you're growing together, you're learning together, you're challenging each other because you see things differently, and you also want the same core and personal values. And they are the ones that will stay together, for a long, long time, because the values, the only two reasons relationships break down: one, lack of communication, And the second one is conflict of values, where couples don't want to compromise. Now,
Yeah.
we must not forget, I think in America, the number one reason relationship breakdown is money. And I just studied money in the form of energy. And what we say about relationships are, in a relationship, in some relationship, the power should be equal. Now, that's the best way for a relationship to exist. The power is equal. But as you know, during COVID and everything that happened, some people, they were equal, but then one lost a job and the other person, is still working. But that immediately, power equals love equals money. So the money has changed, the power has shifted, and it would be a big challenge on the love side of things to keep things going. And that's really triangle. I remember calling it the love triangle: money, power, and relationship. Because when power comes in, power and money gives you power, when that shifts, it can break a relationship, unless a couple are very strong and they can work together at it. So power with, so we have power with, power beneath, and power above. In a relationship, if there's power above or beneath, it's not going to last.
You talked about couples breaking up because of money.
Yeah.
I'm doing some research as well, where couples are not living together because of money. Then couples who are married or living together are not having children because of money. So they've decided not to have a family because of money as well.
I think it's coming into the marriage, or into whether they're married or just living together.
Yeah.
It's coming into the relationships a lot. It's affecting a lot of their decisions in life, for sure. It
Yeah.
really, really is. And nowadays, with houses so expensive, I'm talking about Ireland, and so expensive. I mean, I don't have that research, but I'd well believe it. And then I did coach more than one couple that stayed together, but then I also would have coached people that, after working with me and doing their values and realizing they don't want the same things, in a very nice way, they ended up breaking up. But I also know that, as regards couples making a decision to stay together because they have the money to get a new house,
Yes.
I only coached one couple, I must say, and I didn't enjoy it at all. Because when I said I didn't enjoy it, my heart went out to the woman, because they decided to still stay in the same house, but live different entries. So one is the front door and one will come in the back door and go half the house. Now that was working out okay, until he then decided, well, we are separated. We are legally separated. I might get into another relation. And he started bringing somebody in. And then she just couldn't take it. So in the end, they actually ended up selling the house, because she said she couldn't live under the same roof if somebody was bringing somebody else in. So it's very, very, very difficult. The older generations, and I say a little bit older than me, but I'm not far away myself either. You have the later people in life meeting people now, and I don't know if you've heard of TBA. It's really a good idea.
No, what is it?
It's together but apart.
Oh
So
yeah, that was cute.
this is it's getting very popular. I actually know two couples that are doing it, where they came together late in life and they get on brilliant. He has his house, she has her house, to come together for weekends, to come together, go in holidays, but together but apart. I think it's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
It's nearly the best of both worlds, really.
Isn't it?
In one way. I think it's suitable for that age group. I mean, young people, if they want families and all that, it's not going to be suitable at all. But I'm talking about that age group.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
And I think too, when the thing again of that personal growth, when you get to a certain age, you've done all that personal growth. You've had all, and one thing about personal growth, I say from our age groups, having conversations with younger people, is sometimes obstacles. And Anthony Robbins said it the other day, and I was going to send it to the person. I thought, no, better not, because it might have caused, better. Because again, it's about your book. People are only want to hear something when they're ready to listen, and life only begins when they're ready to listen. And I thought they might not be ready to listen, but sometimes problems are the best things. And Anthony Robbins says that on a reel on Instagram. Problems can be your, what is it? He says problems can be like problems. No, can't paraphrase it because I forget. I'm one of those people, I either remember the beginning or the middle or the end of the joke. I never remember the full. But he says problems can be your best gift in life, because that's personal growth.
Yes.
Because that is knowing that life's going to throw you curveballs. It's going to,
Mm.
no road is straight. It's always curves in the road. And personal growth is about knowing how you deal with problems, knowing, as I spoke to, I think I said it to you before, that Vicky Caldwell in Hammond in Saudi Arabia, who I met, she took me to I think it was you I said to, she took me to the whole, in Dhahran, took
Yeah.
me to the, in Saudi Arabia, took me to the cross country and said, this is where your horse is going to have problems, your pony. And she said, your choice. Now, she never told me how to do it, though. I had to work that out myself. You have to decide how you're going to get over it, under it, or around it, but you've got to get there. And so problems and life situations, it depends on our perception of it, of those situations. It's personal growth. It's knowing how we handle with disappointment. We handle rejection. We handle obstacles. We handle not getting the promotion, not getting something in work.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's also personal growth, where a lot of younger ones, they have this, in the last, say, 15 years, it's all about high achieving. Yes, I can do it. But they don't understand that personal growth bit in life.
I teach a lot, as you know, on resilience, and I'm finding young people haven't learned resilience
No.
because they didn't need to, and they weren't aware of it, of the struggles that, let's say, other people have gone through. And I also think personal growth also has a lot to do, especially in relationships. People, when I remember one time I was coaching somebody on relationships, and they wanted to give it an overall mark, just a 10, a 10, an 8. So, oh, no, no, no. I said, no, 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 no. We need to break that area into 4, mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. And they went, what? And I said, oh, yeah. I said, I'm going to ask you questions in each of those with your relationship with the significant other. Well, I tell you, it was awakening, because in all of us, we have 4 areas to ourselves, like as a whole being. So the physical is the part where I just say to them, when you look in the mirror, see what's looking back at yourself. Do you like what you see? And then how do you feel physically in your body? But then when I'm working with them on a relationship, I'm saying, bring to mind the person in your life. And when you bring them to mind physically, do you like what you see? Are you emotionally attracted to this person? And that's the physical side. Then mentally is completely different to emotional in a relationship. Mental side of the relationship is that, do they challenge you? Do you learn together? Are you determined? Do they have agility, resilience? That's the mental side of the relationship, completely different to coming down to emotional. So the emotional side of the relationship is where, now this is really important, because it's a two-prong. Emotional side of relationship, one part of it is, do you support them emotionally? Do they support you emotionally? So that's one part of the emotional side of the relationship. But the part people forget about is that sometimes you don't want to be emotionally, physically with that person. And that's the part people forget about. They don't emotionally want to be physical. And it's a big question. And then the last part to ourselves and to a relationship is the spiritual side. And the spiritual side is very linked to the meaning and the pathway on life. Do you want the same values? Are you on the same road? And where are you going? And all of them, and all 4, one of them can break down the whole relationship. Any of those 4 could break down the whole relationship. And also one of them can hold the relationship together if it's strong enough.
Really interesting, isn't it?
It's
I
really,
never thought about the spiritual side being part.
it's very much part, because that's linked to the values and what you are together for. What is the meaning of being together? Do we want the same values? Do we want to go on the same path? And and this one thing you mentioned about development. Let's think about, not every relationship breaks down because of the end result of an emotional affair. Sometimes relationships break down because as people grow, they develop, and as they develop, their values shift. Their values shift about what they want in life. I had a couple. This did end up, I think it's in the book. They ended up back together, but what happened was they were crazy in love. They had a lovely home. They were together every night of the week, And then he got a promotion and another promotion. And I was in, and you would know about this. I would know about this because I remember being single when I worked in public relations in ESB. I was out a lot of nights, it's my work. I loved it now, but it took a lot of nights. And what happened was they went from, she was feeling, as you said earlier, she was feeling lonely. She was feeling isolated because the value of being together, watching TV or doing whatever they were together, eating together, whatever, was stopping. It was nearly not happening because he was always out. And when he come home and be too tired and whatever. So his values shifted because his value moved more into getting the promotions at work, but didn't take into account how this was affecting his loved one. And she was feeling lonely and isolated. So when we sat down and went through their values, they knew themselves. If they didn't make a compromise, that relationship was going to end. So what he did was he started saying no to all the invitations that he was always being invited to, and he started coming back to be around a lot more. Anyway, they worked it out, but it was definitely when they sat down and did a compromise, because some people as well, Roshan, in a relationship, they're more open to learning and development than the other person.
Yes.
And they might have very different interests. Some people might have interests, I don't know, in playing golf and in doing other stuff, whereas you might have interest in psychology and workshops, and you can grow apart if you don't work together in looking at the values and respecting each other's values.
Yeah. Because
we need to be a whole person in the relationship in our own form ourselves. So we don't need to be divided.
And then that comes into with being a parent as well, and being a mother. A mother will always put majority of the time, 90% of the time, the children's needs before her. And then the husband could be, as you said, playing golf, could be sailing, it could be football, motor cars. Yet the wife is the one who will go to work, come home, and sometimes she can get lost. As what we said when we were off air about a young friend of mine, she got lost in her marriage. She got lost. Her husband was a high flyer, away all the time, 3 days a week, coming home, but she was lost, and then she lost herself in marriage.
Yeah, it can happen. It can happen very easily as well. I know a woman that used to go bring her son to school, and I'd be bringing my son to school, and she goes, I would always call her by her name. And she said, Mary, you're the only one that calls me by my name. Everybody else says, you're Kieran's mum, you're Kieran's mum, you're Kieran's. And what happens is people lose their identity in the marriage. Or you're Eamon's wife, or you're Eamon. But what about me? My name is not Eamon's wife. My identity is. And especially if one or the other gives up work. I mean, I've coached men as well that have given up work to be the one to stay at home, and they would significantly suffer with their identity. They would need to work on it. They'd have to work on being valuable to the family and being valuable in what work they are doing, even though they're working at home.
And that takes a lot of personal growth, I think, for because through the recession here in 2008, a lot of couples decided, okay, who's earning the most? If it was the wife, then the husband would say, okay, I'll be the stay-at-home dad.
That happens,
For men to do that, that takes a lot of personal growth, personal awareness, good self-esteem, and a lot of self-value, knowing that they can give up their job and be the stay-at-home dad. And also, there's a lot of self-concept there. They know who they are within themselves and how they're viewed in the world around them.
And also then the men, and I'm not here comparing, but they do feed their ego more than the women. So when a man chooses to do that, it will have had an effect on their ego as well, and as you said, but if they work on themselves, they can do it. They can actually do it. But if they're not self-aware, if they're not as, aware of themselves and the value they're bringing, it can affect them. It can affect the identity of who they are.
Yeah. And I think too, I always love personal growth, because I always think, it's not easy. Life is not easy. Life can, as I said, can throw furballs. But it's how you get, and I always use that analogy of that cross-country jump. How you're going to get over there? You have to get there. You can't lie down and just give up on the world or give up on yourself. You've got to find how you're going to get over the obstacle and hope over the situation.
And I do think as well, sometimes it does depend a little bit on their temperament. You know, if you have people that are extroverted, people that are introverted, and sometimes, you know, the introverts, I'm not saying always, but sometimes they can see the glass half empty instead of half full. And as you said, it is about how you deal with what happens in life. It's not, it doesn't matter what happened, it's how the attitude you take, the action that you take is what counts. And it's about how do we deal with, and in resilience, one of the exercises I get them to do is to think about all the times they had hurdles and how they got over it. And you're here today and you got over it. So what happened? What were your resources? So we're finding our resources that we know we have within ourselves that we're not aware of at times helps us a lot with personal growth as well. Because we are a lot more, as Marion Williamson that would say, our biggest fears are great we are ourselves, you know,
Yes.
because we're not aware of how strong we can be in ourselves when we need to be.
And I think too, I think in personal growth is Susan Jefferson or
Yeah,
Jeffries, and she says, face the fear and do it anyway.
yeah,
Because, there's always going to be challenges in life.
yeah,
And you might be afraid to face that challenge.
yeah.
So I said, and that's when you face that challenge and you feel the fear and do it anyway. That's
Yeah.
personal growth.
Oh, it is, of course. Yeah, when you get through it, it's always going to be
Yeah.
more higher and higher personal growth until, the day comes, that we keep learning and keep learning and we're never finished.
Yeah.
I remember one man saying, and he passed away, but I do think he was, on the hierarchy, Maslow's hierarchy of life, and the highest one is self-realization or actualization, self-actualization. And I remember this man, I was very fond of him. He gave a talk about a year before he died, and he said, I've done so much work on myself. I really think I'm becoming self-actualized. And I remember thinking, that's the state we'd like to be in before we leave this world, because it's kind of like we're on the escalator, always learning, and we're always moving up. And true enough, within a year, he passed away very suddenly, yeah.
Oh.
And I felt, well, maybe he really genuinely meant what he said. So maybe
Mm.
he was ready, because he actually said, I'm beginning to think I am self-actualized. I've done so much work in my own field, in my own life about myself and about
Mm.
personal development. So maybe he was ready.
Ready, he's learned his lessons, what he came here to learn.
Yeah.
Some people say that we're all here to learn the lessons. But
Yeah.
one thing you brought that up into me too is, I think personal growth is when you know your mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we talk about values. We always say, for me, it's like everything, and really everything comes down to knowing your values.
Yes. Yes.
And when you know your values, you know your purpose, you know your intention,
Yeah.
you know your belief systems.
Yeah.
As we said, belief systems change throughout our lives sometimes, right? But when your core values never change,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
Might change to different
Um,
situations.
Yeah, the odd time I've seen core values change would be when, I get people to list of 5 core values and they might say travel, my home,
Yeah.
significant other, my family, my friends. But then when I coach people, I went through a stage where I coached a lot of people suffer from cancer for some reason. They were coming to me while they were going through cancer treatment. And I always remember every one of their core value of health that was down at 7 or 8 because they were young enough, they're in their late 30s, let's say.
Yeah.
Every one of them that came to me that had there was getting over the cancer, they all had health as one of their top high core values.
But I would imagine when they were younger,
Yeah,
health was a core value, and then life got in the way. So then let's go traveling, let's go
yeah,
here, let's
yeah,
go there.
yeah, yeah. And now all of a sudden with the sickness up came your health as a
Yeah.
core value again. So yeah, core values can change with our life and what's sent to us, what we deal with in life.
Mm.
Our core values can absolutely change.
I think they
And
changed too. Sorry for interrupting. They changed too. Was like I looked after my health when I was younger. Then I got married. I had children.
yeah,
I got divorced,
yeah.
and so I put everything into my children. I
Mhm.
would say, like the other young mother now, I lost myself because I was giving everything to my children.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I parked myself. And it wasn't until they've both left, well, that God, they've left home and flapped their wings and got their own careers. I started prioritizing myself again,
Yeah.
and my health
Mm.
came back to being
Yeah.
came back around again. So
Yeah.
that's a very key point. That
Yeah, yeah, they do come back, and that's why I'm always asking people about their top 5 core values, because
yeah,
you really need to know what they are to know the trajectory of your life, where you're heading or what direction you're going. You
yeah,
really need to know your top values, and for
yeah,
me, certainly, I know between myself and my husband, it's health as well, and I think as you get older, whereas when I was quite young, travel would have been right up there as one of my top values, and to this day, I love it. I still love traveling, still up there. But we can change, and we can change and compromise our core values when we love somebody as well. We can make a compromise and change some of our top values when we want to, when we choose to, not that we have to. But if you choose to say, okay, you value this and I value that, so let's do a compromise.
compromise. Yeah,
Yeah.
but you still have your core values.
Oh, yeah,
You
you
just
still, yeah.
making a coming together to compromise to work.
Now, this is interesting when you say you lose yourself in a relationship. The reason some people lose themselves in a relationship, one is because they don't know their values. They don't know their values. They never did. They just drifted and married and were happy, or maybe just stayed together in a relationship. The other one is as well, I'm sure you've heard of it, is the empty nest syndrome.
Yes.
And we would have done a kind of a case study on that when we would be doing the diploma in coaching, because, a woman comes into you and you're a coach and she goes, I'm bored. And you say, what do you mean? I'm bored. I just sit all day and I just watch the telly, and my kids have flown the nest, and then I'm just bored. And you keep working with her, like, what's behind the board? I don't know. That's why I'm here. You have to help me. You have to fix me and all this, And we do it like it's an amazing. It's a really good the way we act it out. But the amazing thing was, where do you start with that woman? You can't start with her. She's not ready to set goals. You can't start with her on her values because she doesn't even know what they are. And the only place you can start with her is needs. So hold on a minute. You feel bored now. So when you weren't bored, what were you doing? Oh, well, my children needed me for this, and my children needed me for that. And I felt needed and I felt loved. That's where you go in. That's the when you go in. But it's so funny that people don't realize as we move on in life, our needs change as well. They do change as we get older. And we need something now that we never thought we would need when we were younger. And sometimes people can end up with, I know a woman that her children have moved on and she is on her own, she's a widow. And she would say to me, Mary, I felt I'm not needed anymore. I'm not needed. Nobody needs me. And it's a terrible feeling, because to be connected, we all need to know we are needed and loved. You know what I mean? So it's a
But we
really,
also have to need ourselves.
yeah,
We
yeah,
also have to be connected
to
to
ourselves.
ourselves.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
always think we cannot, that need to be needed
yeah.
is where we're not needing ourselves. We're not connected to ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and to our values that we and our self-value.
Mm-hmm. I hear what you're saying, because like needs, we always say needs are unfinished business from childhood, but some needs are really good for all of us. The
Yeah.
need for being touched. If a baby is in a jungle, I remember this, I don't know who gave me this example. If a baby is in a jungle and is fed but never touched, it will die quicker and shorter alive than if a baby in a jungle was touched and loved and cuddled, would actually last longer without food, because we need that touching and connection more than any other need to survive.
Because that kinesthetic, when you think about it, I remember up in Derry, I was part of a youth group, and we used to visit the Stradray Hospital, and it was where all the children with mental and emotional difficulties were. And there was one ward we used to go in, and they used to be lying on the floor, on mattresses on the floor,
Right.
like thin mattresses on the floor, the proper mattresses for them, and they were blind, deaf, and dumb, but the only thing they could do was touch. And I remember as soon as you touched them, they smiled. They couldn't hear us, they couldn't see us, they couldn't talk, but as soon as you touched, they
Yeah.
smiled.
Yeah.
I will always, when I was only around 16, 17 at that time, I
Yeah.
always remember that, the touch.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it
the
is, but it's,
smile, that beautiful smile, and their eyes smiled, although they were blind, you could, the
yeah,
whole,
yeah,
that
yeah,
was, yeah,
yeah. But
that will live with me for all my life.
it would stay. It's just something like that would absolutely,
Yeah,
stay in memory. It just shows you the connection, people connecting with each other is vital, in relationships as well. It's really important. We always say this for couples to have their own individual hobbies. Even if it's only one night a week, you go to a class, or one night a week you do calligraphy or whatever it is. You do need your own individual hobbies or something as well. You can't just be going everywhere together all the time. You know, it's not healthy. It's just not healthy. You know.
and there is the opposite side of that, where couples come together, they fall in love, blah blah blah, but then they just go their separate ways. Once they get married, they don't do anything together. They just go off, and really, and that's where that disconnect comes in.
And also it happens when, let's say the husband worked and the wife was in the home all the time, then he retires. And I have coached a woman that said, he's under my feet. I don't know what to do with him. He's around all the time. He's driving me insane. And that's why nowadays we encourage, I'm sure you've heard of this, Roisin, the date night. Look, you'll hear
Yes.
it a lot, mentioned a lot. But I so agree with it and I have coached couples where I said, in your month, give me one night. I don't care if it's only one night a month. You go out on a date night, whether you pay for the babysitter, whether it's one of your relatives to mind your kids, whatever. You get out on a date night, because what happens is you talk outside the home about things you never would talk about in the home, and
Yes.
that's to do with boundaries. And when you're in the home, there are things you mightn't necessarily want to bring up. Whereas when you're out and relaxing, you bring it out, or you bring it up when you're out there. So what I would say to people is always make sure you have a date, even if it's only one a month. Because if you don't, you lose in touch with each other. You lose in touch
Yeah.
because you're both working, home, kids, homework, dinner, bed, and then if you're relaxing, a lot of them are in front of the screen to relax, you know what I mean, in front of the television. So where's the time where you're talking about and keeping in touch with each other, you
Yeah.
know?
And now when you think about all the phones have come in, phones, computers, and all the technologies comes in, and everybody's just sitting. I remember in this living room, my son was a teen, I was 17, and he still has the very core friends who he went to secondary school with.
Yeah,
And they're still very tight,
yeah,
as thick as thieves, as they say. And
yeah,
they're all sitting in here. And I walked in the door, and I was just, God, it's very quiet for teenage boys. They
yeah.
came in, they were all texting one another on the phone. I said, get them phones out, you know. But so it's about too, it's about putting down the phones and just, and talking, going back to them core values of talking, connectiveness
Yeah,
with one another,
yeah,
and also being connected to yourself, and knowing the personal growth is knowing your mindset, knowing what you will compromise on and what you won't
yeah,
compromise on.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's very important.
It's
But when
very
you know
important.
yourself,
Yeah.
you know that.
Yeah, and I think as well, cognitive, I know it's coming up a lot now, cognitive agility, mental agility, emotional agility. Really, what they're about is organizing, being in charge of what you concentrate on, how you organize your mind, how you are able to become your own observer and mind your emotions. That's the emotional agility. But it's all about, you're talking about the mindset. It's all about knowing how, if I focus on this, it's going to bring me down in energy. So I'm going to focus on what I can do something about. I'm not going to focus on the what ifs. It's going to cause anxiety.
Yeah.
It's kind of being in charge of what you focus on with your mind, because our
Yeah.
mind is so powerful. It is so powerful, like really, really powerful. So it's a case of being very, very, again, self-aware of where's my mind going. Am I giving my energy to something that's negative, or am I giving my energy to something that's positive? Because we can fall into just looking at the doomsday and everything that's going wrong as quick as we can, because the brain defaults into the negative quicker than the positive because it wants to protect you.
Yes, and we were saying something off there. What was that about you saying about creativity and protectiveness? I loved that. Or did we
But
say it on there? No, we
that was
said
the
it off
conscious
there.
mind. Yeah, the conscious mind is there to protect you. So sometimes it doesn't allow your creativity to come out, because the creativity comes from the subconscious mind.
That's
And
right, because we were
yeah,
talking about brainstorming. 'Cause I do everything because I'm dyslexic. And so I've always worked with mind maps.
yeah, they're brilliant.
And that's how I remember things too.
Yeah.
It's because like I'm at the age, the menopause brain fog came in, and I forget everything. So I have to write everything down and have mind maps. But you said something really really interesting off air about the paperclip. Tell us about that. And Tony was
Oh, Tony Bazan asked when I attended his workshop, he said, what's the most common use in the world for paper clips? And all of us had to write down 10 different reasons we used paper clips. And I was there with a friend of mine, and I'm just writing them down. And I said to her, well, in the office, I'm always doodling with the paper clips. I'm always doodling. I have them in my hand and breaking them up or whatever. And I put down doodling. And then I looked over it and I went, that's stupid. And I crossed it out. So at the end of the workshop, he said, how many people said paper clips were good for this, that, and the other? So he went through a good few. And then he goes, did anybody in the room put something down and then cross it out? And there was a few of us, I mean, I'm not just saying it was me, but a few of us crossed something out. And he goes, well, let me tell you, the most common use in the world for paper clips is doodling. And I had crossed it out. So he then asked, have anybody written that down where you crossed it out and thought it was stupid? I put my hand up. There was a few others that had as doodling as well. And he goes, that's where what happens is you've got to remember your conscious mind is there to protect you. And it's like the guard of the subconscious. And what happens is the conscious mind went, that's stupid, so you crossed it out. But it came from the subconscious, it came from your creativity. And the answer was actually correct. The most common use in the world for paper clips is doodling. And that's why when I ask people questions, especially around their career, and they're kind of going, oh, well, I answered that. Oh, that's stupid. I crossed that out. I have so many times found out what they were about to cross out was what I'm getting the message. I'm getting the message. This is what they should be looking at and doing. But they're thinking, oh, that's stupid. I better cross it out. So it has helped me a lot realize that, we need to trust our creativity, and of course be respectful of the conscious mind, but the conscious mind a lot of the time, defers us and stops us from being our true potential self.
You just brought something up there, what resonated with me about the subconscious mind and crossing things out.
Yeah.
And creativity.
Yeah.
Our creativity and our subconscious mind is our intuition, but our conscious mind crosses out things. So that's where we're not listening to our intuition.
Sometimes, yeah, because the conscious mind is the rational, the neocortex part of the brain, and it will talk us out of things. It will tell us it's stupid, or it'll tell. But you listen to I don't know who was listening to recently about recruitment, and they said the times I went with my intuition, I got the best people ever to work for me. I can't tell you who I was listening to now. And the times I went against it, I made the biggest mistakes in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I 100% believe it. 100% believe it.
And I think that's where that personal growth comes in. Is when you're listening to your intuition. You don't know how you're going to get over that cross-country fence. You don't know how you're going to get that horse over that fence, but there's that relationship you have with the horse, because everybody knows that the horse and you, when you're in sync, the horse knows your mind and can read your mind, and you know that horse.
Yeah.
And it's like that with relationships. When you're in relationships, one of 3 times yesterday, my son and I had that ESP, and he's probably out in the kitchen, he can hear me saying this now, that I was thinking, God, he would usually go off hiking on a day like this, and he came down and he says, I think I'll go for a hike up Brandon Hill. Then something else happened during that day, yesterday, and then last night I was talking to him, and I asked him, could he do something? And he named the thing. I was reading your book, and I said, oh, can you help me? And he named, just came out with it, what I was going to ask him to help me with. And he didn't realize it.
That's synchronicity, though. That's unbelievable. That is brilliant. That really means that you're in the same as one person would describe it. It's like the different links on the radio, the different way. You're on the same wavelength,
wavelength frequency.
Yeah.
So I remember when he was younger, I couldn't think in front of him because he would read my mind. I mean, he was exact, and it just reminded me that when he was 2, when he could talk in 2 and 3 and 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to think in front of him because he knows exactly what I'm thinking. But that intuition, when we know our values, when we live to our values, and we have that honesty with integrity, as you talk about, and when we have that dignity, and we know our purpose, and we know the intention of every thought, every word, every conversation, and the intentions of our values.
Yes. Yeah.
We have that connectiveness to our mindset and
Yeah.
our intuition and our creativity.
Absolutely. And you know who writes really great about the power of intention is Dr. Wayne Dyer.
Yeah.
The whole book on it. And it's more or less what you're saying there. We set the intention, and it's so brilliant because then we're totally in alignment with what we set out to do when we set the intention in alignment with our values.
Dr. Wayne Dwyer, his voice was just
He was brilliant.
his
He was just
voice
brilliant.
was you were just in the moment with him with his voice.
Yeah. Oh, I miss him terribly. I mean,
Yeah.
I think he's dead now, nearly 9 years, but I
Yeah.
even went to see him. I went to see him when he was here in Ireland a long time ago, just a gorgeous person,
Yeah. And I always think Tony Robbins gets me motivated. He gets me also thinking,
Yeah.
God, what he really gets you really to actually stop and think. The
Oh,
same
he's
way
brilliant.
the
He's
Dr.
brilliant.
Wayne Dwyer does.
Yeah.
They both got you. One was the grandfather and one is the father of coaching, isn't it? It's like, but that really gets you. I think that critical thinking of ourselves, but with compassion and empathy. Now, and empathy is overused now, but I think when you can critically have that critical thinking with yourself, you're connected to that questioning and that self-observer of
Yes.
yourself.
Yes, and as we said earlier, being your own self-observer, being
Yeah.
able to reflect. I think reflection is a really huge part of being bringing up your personal growth. Reflecting on what you said, reflecting on what happened, being able to see could I have said something differently? Reflection is a huge part as well
Yeah.
of personal growth.
We talked about, Dr. Wayne Dwyer and Tony Robbins, and
Yeah,
I always think of, the small steps to giant steps for Tony Robbins,
yeah,
and it always makes me think, that keeps us grounded because you have to do this chunk in NLP, chunking up and chunking down,
yeah,
small steps, giant
yeah,
steps,
yeah,
and it's them small steps that
yeah,
we take is where the personal growth comes. Because if we went from one step to a giant step,
yeah.
we miss all that personal growth, personal learning, personal awareness of who we are as a person.
Well, I think you're more or less saying, as they say, it's not the destination, it's the journey to the destination is where the learning takes place. That's exactly what you're saying, Roisin.
Yeah.
It's on that journey is where we're learning. The destination is fine, but I mean, we won't learn just by jumping to the destination. We learn having going through what we're going through.
And as you said about it's the journey, not the destination, I wrote a quote down as I heard last night. Life isn't a sprint. Life isn't a sprint. It's a long race, and you're not in it just to win it.
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
It's
I
very
was thinking about you too. It's like realize you have all, and you are a leadership coach. Realize you have all the qualities to be a leader.
yes, yeah,
And you can do that when you go through all that personal growth. Because
yeah.
be a leader is all about wisdom and life experience.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is the wisdom as well. Absolutely. Along with, as you said, the life experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very
And
true.
I think and that personal growth, when we go through that personal growth as individuals, we stay grounded. We're
Yeah,
grounded in that.
yeah,
We're grounded. We don't go from we know and understand and value those small steps that
yeah,
we have to take to overcome challenges or to achieve a goal or to get to that destination.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's what grounds us. And when
yeah.
we're grounded, we're connected to our intuition and our values.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, and I think, I know people do a lot of meditation. I do some meditation, but I certainly know it really grounds you and centers you, as you said, to that connection of yourself,
Yeah. And when
because,
we're connected to ourselves, we're connected to our loved ones.
yeah, very true. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
Well, Mary
But
Curran,
Okay.
Again, it's, we should really do a show on resilience,
Let's do which?
a show, a program, a video on resilience.
On
What is
resilience.
resilience?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
A lot of people don't have those skills, those resilient skills, especially, I know this sounds like patronizing, but I think the younger people don't have them.
No, the younger people aren't having to go through some of the struggles we've gone through. Now they'll go through different ones, but I think we got a lot of our resilience from our families, from what they went through, the struggles, all of that. I think the young people are going to have a different lot
Yeah,
of struggles, but I don't think they have learned to rely on themselves with resilience the way we have and got through it by it, the fact that we reached out to ourselves and see what resources we had. Our determination will be a huge one in resilience,
yeah,
and it's been able to be, like as I always say, like elastic band that's been stretched, but the elasticity only will go so far and it will snap if you don't come back and mind yourself
yeah.
and look at what's missing.
I always think of resilience with tenacity, that staying
Yeah,
power,
that's very true. Very true. Oh yeah, tenacity feeds resilience. Yeah,
doesn't it?
yeah.
It really
Does.
does. And
Yeah,
you say, okay, well, I'm going to stick this out,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you
it
know,
does. Yeah, very
I'm,
true.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I always think resilience, tenacity, and it's how you get that and how you get that tenacity. That resilience gets you that staying power or
Yes.
gets you over the hurdles or over that fence.
And the one thing I always say about resilience is it's not to land back to where you were and you got over the hurdle, to have got over the hurdle and gone further on your way.
Yeah.
Resilience isn't back to where you were before.
No.
That's where people fall down. They think, I just got over it. And I hate the word when you say it because it's not a bad word. It's just when I hear somebody say, and I coped, Mary, I coped okay. And I go, no, hold on. I think you did more than just cope. Let's look at where you were before this hurdle came. And now let's look at where you are. Are you in the same place? Well,
No.
then you didn't just cope. You learned, you moved on with your resilience and you're on top of it now. You're
Yeah.
moving on forward. So it's not staying where you are. Yeah, there's a lot on resilience. I'd be quite passionate about resilience.
Yeah. I always think when you have that resilience and that tenacity, that personal growth,
Yeah.
that you learn more about who you are in the world that you live in. Again, Dr. Wayne Dwyer, do you live in a friendly world or a hostile world?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
You actually, it's that perception of who you are in the world that you live in.
Yeah. And you know that question, now I can't remember who says it, but I heard it, so I quote it. The more you know, you think you know, the more you know you don't know. If you wanted to, how would I say, cover personal growth, personal development, it really is about that. That the more you know, the more you think you know, the more you know you don't know. It's kind of like just when I thought I had opened all windows or opened all doors, now this opportunity comes in. Or it's like just when I thought I've covered everything, now this opens up another whole new perspective.
Yeah.
You know.
And I
Yeah.
think it's sometimes people say, "Oh, I never got what I want." I really want. Some people are too goal orientated. It's just about achieving goals, achieving goals,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they forget it's those it's what's happening in from the starting point to the destination. They
Yeah.
forget to be in that present moment. They don't get the personal learning and that personal growth from just the goal orientation, goal
That's true.
setting, and
Yeah.
achieving it.
Yeah.
And I think too, it's like, oh, I want career progression. Okay, I want promotion. I want career. It's all about career.
Mm.
And it's also important not to lose yourself in that career progression as well.
It's so true. Very, very true. Yeah, yeah. And it's because they have no patience and they don't want to wait. And I mean, part of our learning is the patience. Learning patience is a huge learning because sometimes we cannot just rush in and get it because there's nothing we're missing out on all
Yeah.
the effort or the learning if we just go and get everything immediately,
Yeah.
But some people are attached to the goal results and remember, I think I said it before, whatever we are attached to controls us.
Yes.
So we don't want to be controlled by that goal. We want to be able to enjoy the journey of getting there instead.
Yeah.
You know,
And knowing too, well, life isn't about just existing.
no.
And I don't like striving. It's like when you just exist and you're striving to arriving, and I don't like the word striving, because
No,
striving to me is like,
yeah,
it's just, you know,
yeah,
but in that you're missing those valuable gifts
yeah,
of knowing who you are,
yes,
your why,
yeah,
your who you are, what you are, who you are, when you react, and knowing your reactions to certain situations.
yes, yes. And the one word people are afraid of, believe it or not, is the how. A lot of people will set out goals and the how gets in the way. The how makes them terrified. The how gets them to think, oh, it's not possible. And I've seen it so many times with coaching, because I'd say, oh no, let's get the clarity first. Let's get exactly what you're looking for. The how is literally a strategic plan. The how is just a strategic plan. When we know what we want, then we go back and develop the how, you know.
Yeah.
But people are terrified of the how. That's what stops them a lot of the time.
I think too, my friend Vicky, when I met her in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, she went to riding school there. And like we stayed firm friends right until she passed. And she told her friends in America I was like her daughter. I was a daughter she never had. And she was a real great, even my son, when I said, oh, he wants to join the Defense Forces. And she was really, she was very proud of the American military and stuff. And she said, oh, he looked so handsome in his military uniform. And
Yeah.
she died then a week later. And when my son was when he sort of had his when he was on his passing out and he had his uniform on, all I could think of that day,
Mm.
Vicky, yep, he looked so handsome in his uniform.
Yeah.
It's funny how you meet people
Yeah.
in life and
Mm.
they teach you so much. She was like the one of, apart from my mother and grandmother and another lady in Charlotte and Derry and then Delia, and then Ellen Gunning. It's funny how you have
Mm.
all these women
Yeah.
as a woman who inspire you, but
Mm.
they challenge you. They don't
Yeah.
tell you how. And I remember I was in my meeting PR degree, and I said, "So I can't write." And then I was saying I had to go into the TV room, but so look, I haven't, TV. It was in on Facebook. She said, "When you have something of value to say, people will listen."
Yes. Very true.
And it's funny, that was personal growth. And
Yeah.
when you challenge someone,
Yeah.
you're there for them, but challenge in a nice way, not challenge, oh, aggressive.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like personal growth. If everybody told us the how to do something, there
Yeah.
would be no growth. There'd be
Very
no
true. Yeah.
critical thinking of how to work it out
Yeah.
ourselves.
Oh, that's such a very valid point, Roisin. That's a very valid point. There wouldn't be any personal growth if everybody told us to how.
Yeah.
That's our learning. That's our steps. Yeah.
Mm. And
Yeah.
that's one thing I always learned from Vicky was she told me, this is what you got to do, but I had to figure out the how.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you are. Yeah. That's exactly what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah. Very true.
Yeah. Well, we're running out of time.
Okay.
So Mary, let's give the book another plug because I love everything about the book. The cover, I love the content, I love the colors, I love the book heading. Life begins when you're ready to listen. And that's everything what we were talking about today.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
You
true.
have to be ready to, it's like you have to be ready to
Yeah.
listen to what life is telling you, what
Yeah.
with your health, what your body's telling you.
Yeah. Yes. Your body
In
never knows. Mhm.
relationships, what your relationship situation and how healthy your relationship is telling you.
Yes.
And that connectiveness to your relationship is telling you your connectiveness to yourself.
Yes. Yeah. So beautiful. That's so beautifully said, Roisin. That's so true.
And it all beginning life, and it all is about life, and it begins when you're ready to listen. Mary, how can listeners get a source your book and get in contact with you?
Yeah. They can get it on Amazon.com, and then they can get it on Balboa Press. They can buy it there. Or I'm buying more books myself as well. If they want to directly just contact me on my website, marycurran.ie. That's yeah, there's three different ways that they can get the book.
And Mary, you're on LinkedIn as well.
Oh, I'm on LinkedIn. I am certainly, yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. Yeah, they can
And
look for
yeah.
LinkedIn.
And your any other social media outlets?
I'm on Facebook. Yeah, I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn. Not very active on Instagram. I think I'm only up there, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't do an awful lot of the social.
I sort of gone away from socials now for some reason. I'm just like gone away. But I got hacked this week. So last week. So yeah, so I'm still kind of can't get LinkedIn back, but my son's gonna look at that today. But
Right.
Mary, I'm going to put in your contact details
Yeah.
into the description box as usual, and all the other videos that we've done with you are all going to be all the links to them other videos are going to be in the subscription box as well.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you, Roshi, so much.
So Mary will be on next week. So we're in 2 weeks' time again.
Yes.
And we said
Yeah.
we'll talk about career coaching.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And I'd also like to talk with you as well about resilience as well.
Oh, yes, because I'm giving a talk on resilience. Well, it's work-life balance and resilience in the university in Limerick on the 5th of June. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's really interesting. So you're giving a talk. Limerick University is an amazing university.
Yeah, yeah, and it's about, I mean, they're the two subjects that I just love anyway, work-life balance, integration, and resilience. Now, I usually do them as separate, but I'm just giving one talk. So it'll take me a little bit of time, to bring them together in one PowerPoint. But I mean, I have it there. It's just a matter of doing.
Mary, yeah, you don't even need a PowerPoint. You can just talk. You can talk the walk.
Well, it's a very interesting area. Yeah, very interesting area. Yeah.
Well, you know what? That is a big gift for those students down there in Limerick University to have you down there and talking to them because you are Ireland's most experienced life coach and most popular life coach. And you brought coaching to Ireland along with another group of coaches as well. And I'm so grateful for that. And I'm sure those students are going to walk away with a lot of food for thought.
I'm looking forward to Russia. Yeah, and then we'll be back on not next week, following
The
Tuesday. Yeah.
following,
Oh,
yeah.
Monday.
Monday.
Yeah, great.
So
Okay.
Mary, thank you so much again for taking the time out of your very busy coaching schedule in life to come and speak to Confident Women Island today.
Thank you, Roisin. Thank you for the opportunity because I really enjoy our chats for
I
sure.
really enjoy it. It's like, oh my God, what are we going to talk about? What am I going to learn today? Because I had so many aha, wow moments again today that, yeah, it's just amazing. And thank you because I'm learning so much from you and about you as well and about your book. And I think everyone should buy this book. Because as I said in the other videos, I had a lovely um, time and in that present moment in time, reading your book, connecting with myself as well, having a little holistic retreat here on that sofa one weekend. And it was it was just like going away for a weekend. I got so immersed in it. So thank you so much
Thank you,
indeed.
Roisin. Thank you very much.
Thank you.